I made it!
And she said, Pastor Brenda, I just have to tell you that I'm not going to be able to come to church anymore. I'm really not a Seventh-day Adventist because in my heart, I can't accept that Seventh-day Adventists don't accept the gay community. I was in shock just listening to that, and I tried to give some answer, but when I thought of the answer, it didn't seem like the right answer, which brought me into a lot of soul searching and a lot of questioning. To me, it's a huge angst as a pastor and as a Christian and as a human being. It's a true rubbing against my soul, and I wanna answer it for myself. I want to see if there's an answer for my church, for the Lord. I wanna know what to do. Maybe if we just start a conversation, if we make up our minds, we're going to listen to the hearts of folk, all different folks. Those who really believe gay people have no right to be in the Christian church, and those people who believe that they do. I want to see if we can't just put aside all of our prejudices and listen. Just listen. My goal is not to come up with any conclusions, but to listen to the stories.
I really loved the people that I went to church with, and that was part of my struggle. When I started questioning, can I continue, being a member of this church? I went into the church knowing that, this is sort of, it's on their website. They believe, marriage is between a man and a woman, and that's it. But then I met your mom, and your mom is fabulous. And the other members of the church were fantastic, and it wasn't a big topic of discussion at all. It wasn't a topic of discussion at all. And so I thought, well, I can do this. This is a place where I want to bring my kids. I want my kids to know these folks and their children, and I want them to kind of grow up in this faith community. For me, one of the things that was most striking, or there was an incident that was really just kind of blew me away, where a church member was sort of talking about, biologically we're built to be opposite sex couples, and we don't, and anything outside of that is not of God. I knew that, and he was saying this stuff in front of somebody who I knew was gay, and I thought to myself, what must it be like for that person to have to hear that? That really stuck with me. And so as I started questioning what I was doing in the church, and do I continue to be a member, it made it hard, because I knew I would be losing that group of people, but I also knew that I couldn't continue to support a church that was really in opposition to a lot of my beliefs.
That's a lot of geese.
Well, tonight I'm a little bit nervous because I've invited my family to dinner, just soup. My family is in total different places on this, and when you meet them, you will understand. So I'm a little bit nervous.
Hi, I'm just went over the bridge, so I'll be home in 45 minutes or so.
All right, that's perfect. Thank you, sweetheart.
Well, my perspective on, I would say, most anything of importance is and has been for 48 years a biblical perspective. The basics are not really a matter of opinion for me, but they are core values that are self-evident. As I read the Bible, to me it's clear that this is not God's way. God's way is one man and one woman for life. So how do we live? And this is, I think, what the discussion is about in my mind. How do we welcome people and still have core values in our community? I think by one person at a time, by prayer, by having an open mind, and never tolerating anything but kindness and courtesy. I don't know how it's going to be resolved, but I know that, as you said, love is always at the top of the pinnacle. I don't think I bear any animosity to people who go a different way. I mean, I was on a different way until I was 24. But I'm on a way now that I think is right. If I didn't think it was right, I wouldn't be on the way. Christ has been so, he's changed my life, and I'm not, in many ways, not the person I was prior to February 21st, 1971. I've come a long way, and I've fought certain battles. I think to embrace homosexuality is just another choice, and the active pursuit of a lifestyle like that. Yeah, I would be adrift. I think I'd follow all that through and say, well, really anything is acceptable. I would be out the door for good, and I'm not willing to do that.
I just believe my core that if somebody is born like that, never wanting a woman but always wanting a love relationship with a man, the Lord loves them as much as he loves me, and he's not going to say, okay, I've condemned you to a life of misery. That doesn't make any sense to me. I love the Lord. I'm grateful for what Jesus has done for me. And, it's his church, as imperfect as it is. And I'm choosing to stay in it.
It's a very odd thing to think that it was on moral grounds that I left Adventism. Because you're saying, like, well, this is not moral enough for me. I want to be accepting of homosexuals. From a conservative Christian point of view, that's absurd. I get that. Everything that I can see tells me that it is wrong to do this to people. To in any way, shape, or form say, well, you can come and sit there, but you can't teach because you're choosing to be a flawed individual. when that's not the case. You can't lead out, you can't be an elder, you can't be this, it's just not right. It's morally, according to my morals, wrong. I just can't see in this day and age how continuing to inflict that that social oppression and shame on someone for being born a way that they had no choice in the matter, and then telling them that they need to be celibate their whole lives, even though every fiber of their being is telling them, I want companionship, I want physical intimacy. No, the creator of the universe has said you can't do that. That's just, I just can't get behind that. Don't want to put my name on it. And so that's where I'm on that.
I think that's the thing that's so hard for me, is that my children, including Trent, but my son Caleb and Josh, would say ethically, I can't be a part of this church, and that's such a hard thing. And they've found peace, more peace since they've left. That's hard to hear. Well, I want to make sure that this is a story about my journey to find some resolution to all of this. I guess maybe I'm looking for some resolution. That's something. So I'm interested in knowing your experience and how, you said real young you knew.
So it's some of my earliest memories were, like an awareness of having a crush on the neighbor boy. I used to love the ABC after school specials, and the neighbor boy and I would act them out, and always ended in a kiss. And it was so exciting and thrilling, and an older boy called us pansies. I went home and I said to Grammy, you remember my grandmother, I said to Grammy, what's a pansy? And first, she washed my mouth out with, I had to do the whole ivory on a toothbrush. And then she said, that's when a man loves a man like he's supposed to love a woman. And you won't ever to ask about it again. So I'm thinking, and I was like, oh, well then I'm a pansy. Which was not the right answer. I got sent to bed with no supper. So I just knew, but I also knew it became, the older you got, the more you hear. It was, people referencing things like stoning homosexuals. And the thing is, because I was such an Adventist, and I loved being an Adventist, I remember standing up at camp meeting once and talking about how camp meeting made me feel. And I didn't doubt that I would find a way to pull this off. I just kind of kept both things going in my head for a long time. And there was a period where things were very rough at home. My mother was depressed, and I was doing a lot of kind of taking care of her in a way. I think it was actually my freshman year, but he came and he preached a sermon, and he announced to the people in the church, this is going to be very serious today. Parents, take your kids out. Some of this is not for, and that was very unusual. And he preached a sermon about how the real message of Sodom was that God didn't just punish the homosexuals. He punished everyone. And the point was that homosexuals not only were themselves sinners, but that they ruined everything for everyone around them. They brought harm to people by existing, and that anybody letting them be was worthy of punishment also. And that was so awful. I walked directly from the church to the bridge in town and climbed one of the arches, and I stood on top, and I can still see the Kennebec And I remember thinking, I wish there was some other way out of town. I wish I could get away from this. But I was like, the pastor's right. My mother's a mess. My father's a mess. My brother's a mess. We're poor as dirt. I had brought all this ruin to everybody, but also suicide is a sin, right? Like, so I'm up there, praying for forgiveness and getting ready to jump when somebody from the church saw me on the bridge, was driving across, didn't know what I was doing up there, but I don't know if you're, it was a kind of daredevil spot, so kids would occasionally play it, So she saw me and she's like, David, you come down, you're going to break your neck. And I couldn't kill myself in front of her. And I remember this feeling of like, I just sagged for a minute, like, I have to go down, right? I have to now keep doing this.
I'm really sorry.
I didn't talk about this for years and years and years. But when I did, that was the thing that kept coming up. Debbie and Jenny, my closest friends.
So just tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, first of all, it was really wonderful to see Dave. I remember him as a little precocious boy running around the church. And it's very personal to me that I was probably one of his counselors. I was in working with youth when in my 20s at this church. I was clueless. So really speaks hugely to what we as a church have to think about and how serious it is that we're open to our young people and we let them tell their struggles. When he was only 6 years old, when he figured that he was different, and 8 when he could put words to it. So we have 8-year-olds running around our own churches, that lonely.